Today we're doing a review on Super7's Dragonzord. So we're going to be doing a comparison against their Tyrannosaurus Rex Zord, as well as several of the other Dragonzords. So stick around and we're going to get right into it. Here's the box. It looks just like our T-Rex box as well, obviously with the exception of our nice Dragonzord logo on front. Here we have it again. We can see our Dragonzord, our accessories, the dragon coin. Here is the back of the box. Nothing too special there, so let's go ahead and get this guy open. And here we have the unboxed Dragonzords. First, let's take a look at the accessories. As far as hands, these are just regular open hands. And then we've got a pair of fists. And then we've got missile hands, or missile fingers rather. And of course you have to actually fire the missile fingers. So that's actually a really cool accessory. Here's our tiny green ranger, which is fun to have. For comparison, here is the Red Ranger from the T-Rex. And you can see that they did do a little bit more paint on the green. Obviously they did need to paint the shield gold, otherwise you wouldn't see it because it would all be green. And then they did try to do a little bit of gold on the helmet, I guess. Either that or it's a mistake, I can't really tell. However, they did at least put black on the visor, which they did not do with the Red Ranger one. Points for trying, I'm not gonna knock it because this is definitely a very, very tiny figure. So, and then here's the coin, and that looks great. Here's our T-Rex coin for comparison. And then on the back, they both have our Z for Zoo Ranger. So I do really love the heft of this, and it makes a great prop or display piece. And now for the Dragonzord itself. So, unfortunately, I am fairly disappointed by this. Right off the bat, the head and the shoulders and everything just look too thick compared to what the Dragonzord actually looks like. So I'll do a side-by-side comparison with some shots of the official Dragonzord from the show, not from other toys, so you can see how it looks. So you can really see that like the armor or whatever it is around the head is just really thick, and it shouldn't be nearly as thick as what we're seeing here. The arms have limited articulation, even more than what the Dragonzord has in the show, and even more than I think some of the toys have. And that's a huge bummer, right? So if these sides that, you know, are part of the arms actually came out a bit and articulated, that would have made this much, much better, at least from the articulation standpoint, because the fact that he can only move his arms like that and can't even go left and right at all, that's really disappointing. I think really just considering how good I think the T-Rex was. But the hardest thing for me to get over is just how thick the head looks. Because again, I think they did an absolute stellar job with the T-Rex. This is an easy recommend, but this is a hard no, for me at least. The QC, I mean, that's, you know, we've got some scratches there, we got some scratches here, some scratches over here too. That's not great. Otherwise, I mean, what they chose to paint and how they painted it, it looks good. I think that's fairly show accurate in terms of those things. The tail at least looks cool, I guess, and it does articulate, which, you know, I can appreciate that. As far as our other articulation, I think they were trying, which is cool to, you know, give us some hip articulation. We have nothing at the knee, and then we have some ankle and foot articulation, which is nice. I'm glad that they attempted that. And we do have some waist swivel, which is actually pretty impressive. But I think they didn't put enough into the arms. Obviously, the head won't be articulating. That's normal for the Dragonzord. We do have some mouth articulation. That's nice to have, but it just doesn't look right. But here we are, this is what we have. Let's go and do some comparisons. Here he is next to the Super Mini Plot Dragonzord. Here he is next to the original Dragon Caesar. This is the Japanese version, not the American version. Here we have our Bandai Legacy Dragonzord. Here we have the Japanese Soul of Chogokin. Soul of Chogokin Dragonzord. And finally, we have Hasbro's Zap Megazord. And these are pretty much all of the different ones that you might be considering buying, besides the Dragon Caesar, even though, like I said, this one is just the Japanese version, and the American one is more or less exactly the same. This is really interesting to see all side by side like this. Even though they're all based on the same thing, you can see quite a few differences. And I think excluding the Dragon Caesar, because obviously it's more for little kids and these are more for adult collectors, You can see, just as an example, the difference with the green part right here, how differently that they chose to go with it for each different version. In particular, the Zap one, it has this extra detail in there that doesn't actually exist on the original design, so that's kind of strange. Otherwise, everything kind of seems to be in the right place, more or less, but then it's really just all about proportions, articulation, and I guess really the colors that they're using too, because I feel like the Zap one, the green is a little bit darker than it should be. I think the green on the Super 7 one is actually pretty good, but the gold's not that great. I think the gold on the other three actually come out much closer to the original design. I think what I'm most interested by though is how different each of the faces are, and I'll show those on screen right now. And I guess I'm unclear why they're all so different, considering they're all supposed to be the same thing. So I don't know why the Zap one has a more pointed nose than the other ones do. In any case, this video is primarily about the Super 7 Dragonzord, so let's do a few more comparisons. So here's how the Dragonzord stands next to the Lightning Collection Snizzard, and I think this is kind of frustrating because the Dragonzord is a little bit too tall. I think the T-Rex came out really well in terms of scaling and size, because the Dragonzord is even a little bit taller than the T-Rex is as well, and they should be closer in height than what these ones are showing. So again, another kind of disappointment with this guy. Here is how our Lightning Collection Green Ranger stacks up against our Super 7 Dragonzord, in case you wanted to put them side by side. And finally, here's a Green Ranger statue that I got as part of that GameStop Power Ranger bundle from a while back. So in the end, I am really disappointed with this. That's really unfortunate. I'm really bummed considering how good the T-Rex really was, but this one just missed so many marks, and that's frustrating because I really want to see Super 7 succeed. Will I get the other ones? I'm not sure. In my T-Rex video, I did say that I'd be getting all of the Zords because I assumed that they were all going to come out to this level of quality. But this is the Dragonzord. This is the one that I think people would be buying more of than the T-Rex. And this is what we're getting. And that's really, really frustrating because I think they put way more care, time, and effort into the T-Rex than they did the Dragonzord. So it's a weird buy. I honestly don't know if I'm gonna even keep it or not. But that's hard because if I have one, I kind of want the others to go along with it. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be keeping this guy, but I'd love to know what you think and let me know in the comments below. And on top of that, I'm actually going to take a bunch more pictures of all these guys together and post them on my IGs. So follow me there if you aren't already. And otherwise, if you haven't seen my review on the T-Rex, then check that guy out right here.